Well, the process we use is bottom up in its nature. It's not a top-down macro fund, so we don't start the process by saying that we like a particular country or continent. We look at the cash flows of that business and see where we believe there's undervaluation and limited risk. So there's not a strong bias towards either the US or Europe. There's opportunities in both of them, we feel. We're only looking for 25 or 40 high conviction names. On the margin, actually, we're finding Japan's becoming a little bit more interesting as an area that we're finding companies, particularly given their strong balance sheets. That's something that we're prizing incrementally as levels of debt get higher in the US and Europe and interest rates start rising. So in general, we find valuations quite elevated and balance sheets are quite stretched in a number of companies, so that makes our universe quite small. On the margin, the more attractive areas that we would cluster around at times where we thought they were interesting would be things like US regulated utilities, where we see a big opportunity to invest large amounts of capex to improve the network or to get people more connected given the low cost of energy there. So names in our portfolio would be things like Public Service Enterprise Group in New Jersey area, or Sempra in the California and Texas area, or even National Grid, which is UK listed, but actually has a large business in the northeast of America. I guess the other area that's interesting in the portfolio at the moment is Japanese pharmacy distribution businesses, i.e. they give you your drugs when you're ill. We own a couple there that we think is interesting given the consolidation the government's trying to drive, names like Ain and Sugi in the portfolio. So we spend a lot of our time thinking about risk and what risks can derail the portfolio. So one big mantra of the fund and every investment we look into is to have strong balance sheets. And having a very strong balance sheet in the businesses you own means that you don't have to worry if interest rates are going up and what effect that has on your profits and cash flows. So that's the first defence mechanism to minimise that risk. What we also try and do is we try and balance the portfolio so no one factor can derail it. So we'll think about what influence a raising interest rate could have on stable cash flows in defensive businesses, and there's an argument to say they may derate a bit as the yields go up. We like stable cash flow businesses, we want to own them, but we'll also think about what could be beneficiaries the far side of raising interest rates, i.e. directly. Companies like TD Ameritrade in our portfolio actively benefits when interest rates rise because it holds its customers' cash and it can earn more on that. Or it could be things like industrials and cyclicals. So always trying to balance those factors in the portfolio construction and always spend a lot of our time thinking about the risks. Well, I think there's a lot of risks out there at the moment, and I'm not quite sure which is the most likely one to congeal first. I don't have a crystal ball. But probably what I would flag to people is that I don't think it's just going to be one risk causing a problem and then that being isolated and going away. I think we've got so many risks out there at the moment that when one has a problem, it will start having a knock-on effect to something else, and then it will really start emerging in the real world where people lose confidence. So if we do have a risk, a problem that arises, I'd be quite patient investing our cash because I can see it taking many months and possibly a year or two to flush out these pains and these risks in the economy by nature.